All right, so quick intro. My name is Ruben Perez, and I'm a solution architect for the Elastic team here in the SLED division in the East. And today we're going to be talking about viewing your system logs with Elastic in under 10 minutes. Some housekeeping. If you have any questions that come about during the talk and or after, feel free to email myself at sled@elastic.co. Me and a couple of my counterparts would receive that, and we'll be more than happy to help answer any questions or comments or whatnot as they come in. So, quick backstory about how this talk came about. I've been hearing a lot from various customers and just coworkers in general, hearing from their customers that Elastic is difficult to set up and or install and or deploy. And I thought to myself, said, how is that so? I do it, quite honestly, no lie, numerous times a day, brand new cluster with new data sets streaming in, again, at least a handful of times a day for various use cases and whatnot. And so I figured, why not put together a talk where I can show from absolutely nothing to having a system that I can visualize data from my laptop within a matter of minutes. And so in practice, this will probably take 5 minutes or less, but I'm gonna extend it a little bit due to the talk track and me trying to walk everyone through what I'm doing. If you see something or hear something again that you're interested in, feel free to throw it in the chat. If not, you can send it at sled@elastic.co. All right, so, I mean, let's be real, things are a little bit hectic this day and age with the whole COVID work from home, lockdown. A lot of folks are finding themselves having to juggle a bunch of things at once. I mean, and it really tests the skill of those. I know it does for myself. Trying to juggle family and work and homeschooling and meetings and whatnot. Sometimes it seems like there's not enough time in the day. And so I constantly try to find ways to work smarter, not harder, and see how I can alleviate the stress from my day-to-day from a time and resource commitment perspective. Now, I find it that I can leverage sort of what's been done previous to me. I can stand on the shoulders of those smarter than I and use what they've done in terms of my work anyway, to be more efficient from a day-to-day perspective. I can use sample Elastic configurations. I can use sample Elastic documentation, look at discussion boards, look at GitHub and whatnot, and just get a sense of what has been done prior to me hitting a particular roadblock in and of itself. But again, from getting off the ground and running perspective, I think it depends on your needs, because sometimes there's a lot of information and other times it's expected to be so simple that it might be hard to rat out that info. That's where I'm hoping, again, I can show you guys today the easeability in our stack solution. Off the top, we've had some really great changes. By the way, if you don't know, 7.9 just dropped, I think, earlier this week. But in any event, we have spruced up our Elasticsearch, Observe, and Secure offerings, and are folding them all into our Kibana interface. And that interface can be deployed, the stack and the interface can be deployed either in the cloud via a SaaS offering or in on-prem self-managed type mode where you can manage that deployment, but leverage our software to orchestrate it with our Elastic Cloud Enterprise and Elastic Cloud on Kubernetes. I think Chuck or somebody mentioned that they were testing this in ECK, which is great. Now, what I want to, I'm just going to jump right in. Let me check the chat real quick in case someone has sent anything. Oh, see some stuff. All right, cool. That's probably from my questions earlier. Yes, this will be recorded. And and we'll probably post it up to our YouTube channel. I don't know, probably end of the week. I don't want to speak for the organizers of that, but it certainly will be up there soon. All right, so getting back to my thing here. All right. What I'm showing you here is what I'm going to walk through in a little bit, but effectively, I want to show you guys how easy it is to deploy in our SaaS solution. It's literally just a couple of clicks and you're off to the races. You don't necessarily have to add any additional configuration parameters or values or whatnot. You certainly can if you wanted to, but if you wanted a pure out of the box, I need to get up and running as soon as possible, that's what I'm going to show you today. And that's what this first screen is showing you. It's what you're presented with when you go to our cloud.elastic.co website. If you haven't registered, I would urge you to do so, because you can use our trial license to test all of our feature sets. And I think there's various timelines for the trial license. If you need it longer, certainly talk to your local rep so that they can extend it. But it's a great way to not only, again, get off the ground and running quickly, but testing feature sets that are not present in any other way, or accessible to you, rather. What I'm going to be showing you today is, again, deploying the stack, and I'm going to be downloading some of our beats and sending data from my laptop up to the cloud. I think I'm probably going to target an audit beat, a packet beat, file beat, probably metric, and potentially heart beat. All of them grab different data streams and metrics and information and logs and whatnot, and shoot it up to my Elasticsearch cluster in the cloud. And you can get to this screen by going to elastic.co/download/beats. My goal here, again, easeability is what I'm trying to show. And all I'm going to be doing outside of, I think, Heartbeat, if I do it, and Packet Beat as well, is adding the cloud ID and the cloud authentication value. So I might stop sharing at that point so I don't show my password. But this is all you need from a Beats perspective to push data into your cloud cluster. And that's it. That's the only configuration, again, outside of the audit and packet, that I'm going to be doing. Now, in some instances and use cases, you might want to target different data sets or have more robust information getting sent to the cloud, and that's fine. And we certainly can do that. However, again, for purposes of this talk, I just wanted to show quick out-of-the-box functionality with minimal interaction from an end user. Speaking more of the same, when you're installing the beats, there are two command lines that you enter, one to set it up and one to actually run it. And this setup is what I find awesome, sort of meat and potatoes of the beat. During this setup, it not only deploys the localized files and folders, it sends up to Kibana the out-of-the-box default visualizations and dashboards. So what I'm going to show you in a little bit is, again, a system that has nothing, and then auto-generated visualizations and dashboards for me to click and view. Not all of them might be populated depending on how I configure my beats out of the box, but having the ability to digest metrics and logs and stuff like that without having to learn and figure out how to set up said visualizations and dashboards, I think is really powerful. And it saves the end user and administrators a boatload of time to get that information into the proper end user's hands. And you could also use those default out-of-the-box visualizations and dashboards as foundational pieces to generate your own custom visualizations and dashboards. Maybe you like certain bit of the values in one of them, but doesn't quite have everything that you need. So you want to add some stuff or remove some stuff, or maybe reorder the visualizations. All that is available to you. Let me check the chat here. This is meant to be a quick talk because the demo is so quick. So without end user interaction, I'll probably give you guys a lot of time back. Nothing new on the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and start the demo. Everybody cross your fingers, make sure that the powers that be from the demo world treat me right. So let me get back to sharing my screen so you guys see that I'm not doing any magical funny business. So I'm going to go to the cloud elastic.co site. I already have my login information preset. And again, I'm presented with my ability to create a deployment. This is what you'll see if you don't have any deployments already in your system. I cleaned everything out for the purpose of this talk. So you can select from any one of our three cloud offerings, GCP, Azure, or AWS. If you don't want to use the latest, although I urge you do, you can select any of the most recent minor versions, and I think we go back one major. So you'll get 6.82, it looks like 6.82 all the way to the current. Again, 7.9 was just dropped, I want to say earlier this week or late last week. I'm going to use my default template here, but you can select what sort of architecture meets your needs. And I'm going to go ahead and customize my deployment as if this was my dev environment, so as to not eat up too many resources, since I really don't need it outside of just showing you what's going on. In production, I would not recommend doing a singular node because of our master split brain component, but I would, again, I use this from a dev perspective because I don't care if I lose the data, I can always reprocess it. I'm gonna go ahead and enable all the special features that we have. By the way, if you're not aware, we do have a bunch of plugins that you can also leverage with your cloud deployment. I'm not gonna check any of them, but I wanted to bring your attention to it. I'm gonna give a little bit more RAM usage to my Kibana. I have APM. I'm gonna enable Elasticsearch, which is new to 7.9, the ability to deploy this in the cloud, or 7.8, it's one of those. So I clicked a few radio buttons, I moved my slider a couple of times, and I'm going to create the deployment. And that's sort of it in terms of getting things going. So while my deployment is creating, I'm gonna go to the Elastic site and download my various beats. Products, view all downloads. Let's go to beats. And so I'll do a file beat, go back, packet beat, go back. I'm on a Mac, so I can't do WinLog. Metric beat for sure. Heartbeat, why not? And audit beat. If I wanted to do function or journal beat, I certainly could, but I don't have any of that stuff set up on my, my Mac here. So what I'm gonna do is drag all of these downloaded packages, or container files rather, into my virtual user group folder. I'm gonna go ahead and unzip each. And do a quick check, see if my cluster is still getting ready. So it's still configuring, that's great. Go back to here. And I'm going to open up my YAML files for each. I'm sure there's a way, I mean, I've done it in previous setups where you can automate some of this programmatically by cracking open files on disk and adding fields and parameters that you'd like. But for today, I'm just going to go ahead and click through them. Go ahead. All right, so those are my beats. I'm gonna get all my terminals queued up. Next. My window for the time being is going to get a little busy while I set these things up, but I'll navigate through it. Check in over here. We don't need this tab anymore. Changes are almost done there. In the interim, what I'm going to do is copy my cloud ID, as that's one of the values that I need to set in my various YAML files. And that is going to be in this area here. I'll undo that. At the end of this, I fully expect folks who are with us today, if you hear that Elastic is difficult to set up, on my behalf, please do ask why somebody thinks that is, because it really is as simple as I'm making it seem. Again, out of the box stuff. If you want to customize it and whatnot, then it depends on the customizations that you're trying to do. But getting started out of the box is really, really simple. All right, so all I'm doing is copying my cloud ID to all my YAML files in my text editor here. And what I'll need to do here is add my username and password. I'm going to briefly stop sharing so I can get my password and look at the chat. Yes, it's been more than 10 minutes. I mentioned earlier it's going to take me a little bit longer than the general 5 to 7 minute range that it takes me to set this up, because I'm going to purposefully talk through it and be pretty slow, but very observant there, LP. I'll be right with you guys in a sec, just copying the password. Okay, so all of them have the password. Yes, they all do. It takes me longer to copy and paste than actually setting this stuff up, to be quite honest. Making sure I'm not sharing any passwords. Do that. Do that. All right, all right, all right. Okay, I will share again quickly. So all of my YAMLs have my cloud auth ID as well as my username and password. and my deployment has been created and is ready for me to access. Prior to me accessing it though, I'm going to edit one config and edit one file on disk here. For my heartbeat, I need to tell it which monitor I want to monitor. I guess that's not the greatest English there. My apologies, but I got to tell it what it should be monitoring to see if it's up or down. And this is going to populate our uptime metrics. By default, it looks for a localhost 9200, which would be an Elasticsearch if you were to deploy it locally. I'm going to point it to my cloud Elasticsearch instance. Now, the issue with this is this does require a username and password in the cloud. So what I'll do is put username here, and this is going to be Elastic. And I'm going to stop sharing for a second again so I don't give away my password here, but I'm going to put my password there and then click save on that one. So let me stop. My apologies for going back and forth here. Hopefully I'm not driving you folks batty. Make sure I copy the password. Yep, got it. Go up here. Okay. Now I don't think I need to jump off anymore. Fingers crossed. All right, so all my YAML files were updated with the cloud auth ID and the cloud.id and the cloud.auth. And for my heartbeat, I added my Elasticsearch link that points to my cloud cluster. So it can tell me if that Elasticsearch is up or down. I'm going to go ahead and save all. Now, before I do anything with the beats, I just want to launch Kibana and show you guys that I wasn't fibbing. There's nothing in my system at the moment. I mean, you guys saw me generate it. Explore my own. No, don't save. If I look at any of my dashboards, there's nothing there because it's basically telling me I can't show you any dashboards because there's no index patterns that map to anything, and there's no default dashboards because, again, there's no index patterns. The same sort of warning would be presented if I try to look at the visualize link. So that being said, I'm going to start my beats. One last thing before I do. The packet beat requires elevated privileges from my account. And so I'm going to change the ownership of the packet beat YAML from myself to root so that it can track all the various information that it needs to, and so it can send it back to Elastic. So that's the other sort of manual thing. Now, I know a lot of this, for me anyway, is muscle memory. But if you follow our documentation or just follow along with this recording after the fact, YouTube can get this quick, minus all my explanations and long-winded stuff. So I'm going to challenge that to root staff packetbeat.yaml. All right. And with that said, I'm going to one by one hit that setup command. And what this is doing is deploying the beat information, the local directories and whatnot, as well as telling Kibana, hey, I need this information set up for my visualizations and my dashboards. Heartbeat setup. This one after this metric beat setup. This one is so these are firing up, and while that's happening, I can go back to my dashboard and now see that there's a bunch of default dashboards. In fact, once all 5 are deployed, I think there's over 100 or so default dashboards that are set up for me to use. Now, again, all of these won't be populated with metrics because I'm not pulling in all of that info, but this is pretty powerful, I think, in terms of, again, getting off the ground as quickly as possible and being able to see what data is in my system. And let's see where we're at here. So packets done, heartbeats done, metrics working, file beats working, audits done. Let's go ahead and start the audit beat. Audit beat. Let's start. There's a heartbeat. Looks like file finish, so let's start file beat. Let's start packet beat. And wait a second for that. So while that's going, we can start seeing data populate within our system. Now, again, as of 7.9, this enterprise search was introduced, as well as some administration in the security realm that I'm going to touch on briefly, as well as Ingest Manager, which I'm also going to Ingest Manager, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Let's go to the observability over. Well, no, there's no metrics yet, so it's going to be pretty sparse. No, let's start it up. Sweet. All right, now all my beats are running. So again, taking longer than 10 minutes to show that everything went from 0 to something, but that's because I'm purposely taking forever to walk you guys through it. But you guys saw I had no system. You saw me download everything, and now I have stuff within my Elastic cluster in the cloud. I can go to Discover and search for data that's present by switching through my different indices. I can go to my observability overview and see various metrics of my system. If you want to do additional logging and whatnot, this will show you how to change any settings so that you can grab that info. For example, syslogs. I just go back into my YAML, do whatever I need to do. Actually, in this case, I don't have to do any YAML changes, just enabling a module. Each beat comes with a list of modules that you can enable. I can go to my security overview and see some info. I don't have any detections set up just yet, but I do see that data is flowing in from my audit beat, from my packet beat. I haven't enabled the file beat to do it yet, but again, out of the box, this is sort of what I'm presented with. I can look at my host detail information. I see that there's various sources and destinations, any uncommon processes that maybe I should check out. I can build a timeline if any of this looks fishy to me by saying, hey, you know what? I don't know what that process is. Let me go ahead and start building a timeline from it. I can look at my network information and network traffic. See that there's unique private IPs from source and destination. It shows me where I'm coming from and where I'm going to, DNS requests and whatnot. So you're presented with a lot of information, again, out of the box. If this is a little bit too technical, a little bit segregated, we can show the correlation of all the data sets through our various, again, out of the box dashboards. Let me see if I can get a metric beat on. Thing is just finding one that's an overview of it all, because we do give you, again, over 100 or so default dashboards and even more, I think it's like 1,000 roughly individual visualizations. Is that what I want? So I see basic info from this is my system, so I can look at the host overview and see sort of what's going on in my system. I don't have any containers. I can go back to my dashboard and look at, let's see if there's any good ones in the audit beat field. So let's look at system overview here. So again, you guys saw I didn't do any of this on my own. It sort of was presented to me. I think this, if I were brand new to Elastic, or even if I'm not, but I'm, strapped with resources, both time and full-time employees to get this up and running, somebody could come in during a 10-minute or so break, if you will, and set this whole system up and have the out-of-the-box features ready to go. Now I'm going to stop and show. Oh, I'm presenting here, so let me just do it from here. So I showed you that, guys. That's basically the setup in a nutshell. Very quick. Let's see if there's any smart alecky comments in the chat here. Yep. So no other chats. I hope that was super informative, and you guys see the art of the possible in terms of how quick we can go from absolutely nothing to a full system that allows you to see dashboards that you can actually report on those dashboards. You can print them out. You can export them. You can provide hyperlinks to them and embed those in an email or whatnot. So you can share this information all within a few minutes. Now I went over the easeability of downloading the beats and setting them up and pointing them to my cluster through the cloud.auth and cloud.id. As of version 7.9, we have introduced something called Ingest Manager, which effectively allows you to deploy a single Elastic agent. Now, I'm not going to go into super depth and detail on this talk, but perhaps in a future one we will. Effectively, the goal is the Elastic agent will have the capabilities of each of the beats. And so through a selection of sorts, you can tell the Elastic agent, grab this, don't grab that, process this other information, and bring it all into Elastic. That way, you can manage your beats essentially from Kibana, and you don't have to do the individual download, config, and deploy like I did. Even though that was simple, it's even simpler, or they made it easier with the Elastic agent and the ability to administer that agent from Kibana through ingest management. And so that I will show you guys. Now, it just came out in 7.9, so some of the feature sets are still being worked out, but here's where you would sort of manage your Elastic agents that are deployed. You can alter their configuration. You can deploy more. You can add other data streams to it. What else can you do? There's just so many different ways to pull information and push it to the Elastic agent via Ingest Manager. So right now I don't have any agents deployed in my system, but I can view all my agents. I can view the various integrations that each agent is processing. Also, as of 7.9, we've included our Elastic endpoint security feature set into our Elastic agent. So that's pretty big. And you can see your data sets that you're streaming in and how much of each. I don't have anything enabled again, but this is sort of where I see the future going. As easy it is to set up all these beats that I did back here, this is even easier. Here I just click and go, click and go, and click and go. I can add streams, I can remove streams, I can edit streams. It's just all at my fingertips. So again, making everything that much easier for your end users to leverage, and you as an administrator probably to administer, sort of deploy and let loose. And with that, folks, that's pretty much all I had. If you're interested in learning more about what we do here at Elastic, or if you are interested in sharing your stories, your use cases, or just wanting to be on a panel, for sure, please reach out to us at the community link here in the center. My counterpart, Jenny, will be talking about the secrets of SIM and endpoint and how to choose the right tools to meet your mission during our next user group, which I think we're locking in the date, but it is going to be next month. You can register here at this link. And if you're interested to learn a little bit more on your own, we do have a lot of training options for you. You can run it at your pace. It's online tools. We do have free training available in addition to all of our documents and our discussion boards and whatnot. So do take advantage of that. And that's all I had. Let me see if there's anything in the chat. If not, this I know I touted 10 minutes or less, but I wanted to make sure I took copious amounts of time and effort to show you guys the easeability of what you can do out of the box. I don't see any questions from anyone. Is there anything that anybody would like to talk about, share? Could I explain indices? So the indices is where each one of our beats has a different set of metadata attributes that it's pulling and sending to Elastic. And so let me see if I can queue that up here. Give me one sec. Index management. And so, I'm sorry, I realize I'm not sharing. Share my screen. So each one of our beats will provide an index with various settings and mappings that they are all normalized on Elastic Common Schema, ECS, but they each have their individual data points specific to the beat that it's running. So, for example, file beat is most concerned with stuff on disk, whereas packet beat is more, tracking your communication over the wire. It has a super high level of beat, index description, but I hope that answered your question. Is that what you're looking for, Pedro? I'm going to assume yes. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. I redeemed myself in.
Hi. Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Pedro here. Can you hear me?
I can. We all can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Right. My question is more around creating new indices. How to create a new index, sorry.
So from a beat or just your own or a pipeline or?
So when you ingest a new log, say from a firewall or something, and you want to create a new index for that.
Mm-hmm. So depending on how you pull it into the system, if you're leveraging our beats, then you can name that beat whatever you like, and you can say it's my firewall index, and that'll be your index pattern. The index pattern will follow the beat that you're leveraging, but the naming could be whatever you want, and use that as sort of out of the box filtering mechanism, if you will. So when you go to discover something, you say, hey, I want stuff from my firewall, and leverage that tagging mechanism.
Okay, thanks.
All right, folks. Thanks again. I appreciate it, and I'll be looking out for your feedback. Have a good one.